Welcome back to the Level Up Life, Muscle and Mindset Mastery, where pain becomes purpose and every setback's just a setup for something greater. Today's guest is someone who lives that truth out loud, Dallas Rau. She's a fellow Rotarian, community leader, and relentless advocate for mental health and substance abuse awareness. But more than that, she's a warrior. We'll talk about her recent knee injury, actually 2 of them she's had, and how she faced it with grit and grace. We'll explore the mindset that carried her through and how she's used her challenges not as roadblocks, but as fuel to uplift others. This episode's about resilience, service, and rising stronger. So if you've ever faced a setback and wondered if you had what it takes to come back stronger, this one's for you. Let's go. So Dallas, for our listeners out there that don't know you, give me a little background.
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in Midland, graduated from Dow High, and I've still live in the area, so live in Freeland. My family and I always say we live in Freeland, but Midland will always be home. So very much tied to the community, work in the area. So I work for a regional nonprofit entity or initiative in the community, and really love that work, but really involved in the community and with Rotary. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. I have an amazing husband, Jeremy. I've been married to for going on 19 years this year, and an amazing son, Haven. He's 14, a freshman. HD.
Yeah.
Yep. And we have a dog, Zion, who's our big part of our life too. He's our big fur baby, and yeah, we love it here.
Yeah, Midland's an awesome community.
Yeah,
I say that all the
definitely.
time. When I was using, I didn't think that. I thought Midland was just, blame it all on Midland, but that was just my mindset at the time.
Yeah.
Since recovery, I've really realized how wonderful a community this is.
Yeah.
And how supportive they can and have been of me in my journey. I see it with other people too. So,
Yeah. Do you think it's always been that way, or is it coming around?
I think a little bit of both.
Yeah.
So if you were talking strictly substance abuse, I think it's definitely improving.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in general, I think it's been a supportive community, great place to raise a family.
Agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So love Midland.
Yeah. Love Midland.
Tell me a little, so you've worked, you're an advocate for mental health. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I work at the Great Lakes Bay Region Mental Health Partnership, and what we do every day is to work to make sure people know where to go when they need help and that they can get access promptly to that care that they need. So we're working to reduce stigma, and we want to advance community culture so people don't feel like they can't talk about their mental health, because we know mental health is health. We want to get our workplaces and our youth educated on different programs that can help them. And we also want to enhance the mental health provider access. So that's making sure that pipeline is full of people who are ready to come into those provider roles and be ready to serve, because their well-being is important too, so that they're taken care of. And when folks get through that kind of pipeline of care and overcome stigma and figure out where to go to get help, that they can get that quality care.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the areas Midland's really improved, is the more accepting of people who are trying to change. For me, as an example, with the substance abuse that I've had in my life, I live very open with it for the same purpose, to try and reduce that stigma even further. But I think the mission in general, it's an uphill battle, right? Because there's coexisting disorders. There's a lot of the time, for me, it was trauma and avoidance. Sometimes people, it leads them to substance abuse from being, it could be bipolar. It could be unaddressed bipolar disorder. It could be tons of different things. So reducing that stigma in the big picture, I like to think about it as we all have struggles.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you're and I'm not calling anybody out specifically, but CEO of a company, and or whether you're early recovery, it's this. We feel the same emotions.
All human.
We're all human. So love
That's
what
the
you
element.
do.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
I'm really lucky to do what I do, and we have a lot of amazing support in not only the Midland community, but across the region. And there's a lot of great partners doing a lot of the same kind of work, working together. Like we're all just a kind of a cog in the wheel to advance this. So it's really incredible to be a part of that.
yeah. Yeah. So that kind of aligns with what I guess you're helping people. That's my purpose, to help people. So
Same.
yeah. So that's awesome. What we're both a part of, we're both members of Rotary, and that, tell me about your why.
Yeah.
Let's hear your why.
So with Rotary specifically, I have a fun story. So I was actually told to go to Rotary by a former boss, and their intentions were very different than kind of the why I stayed, right? So it was very much intended to be business oriented, build those relationships related to like how we can grow the business. I got in that room, and I remember it was someone giving their classification speech, which is kind of like an all about me, kind of who they are in the community, their role, their title. And I'm like, wow, this is incredible. Like I'm in a room of people who are doing the good work every day, and I wanted to be a part of that. So I joined shortly after that, and now I've been a Rotarian for over 10 years, just over 10 years. And I remember thinking, because it was their classification, and I knew everybody had to do one, right? Everyone's a little scared to do theirs. And I said, boy, wouldn't it be cool if by the time I give my classification speech, which is normally like 18 months, 2 years or so by the time we get scheduled, that I could say I had my degree, my 4-year degree. So fast forward like 5 months after that, I go and get my degree. And it's all because of Rotary, because I was just so inspired by the people in the room doing the good work. And I'm like, if I can get, I needed some accolades, right? I need to get that degree behind me to do that and have confidence, right? To go out and kind of put my name out there. Because I worked for the same company for like 16 years. So I had my associates, which was great, but I wanted more for me and I wanted to do more for my community. So Rotary was such a big part of that. So it kind of gave me that boost to put my name out there. People in the community started to know who I was, and they started trusting me because I was actually, doing what I said I was going to do for our Rotary Club and in our community. And I had a lot of people rooting for me and helping me along the way that to this day are mentors and friends who helped me get to where I am today. So, yeah.
So you were there for the beginning of my journey.
Yeah.
I actually I did a classification speech.
Yeah, you
before I
presented
was even a member, because I
Yeah.
came in with the
It was
legacy
really all about you,
center.
wasn't it?
Yeah. And I remember I was still in recovery court. So,
Yes. Yep.
I was under the court supervision, and there was judges and, the chief of police, the sheriff were all in the room. So it was an experience
Yeah.
for me. And I I look back on that moment as a huge growing opportunity, as uncomfortable as it was. I think the discomfort is what really gave me the opportunity to grow. But I remember, and this is kind of something I've struggled with going to Rotary, and it's all internal for me. It's nothing anybody's ever done to me or treated me in any way. It's all me. But I felt out of place. I felt, that people talk about imposter syndrome. I felt like I didn't belong there. And then I remember walking in the crowd after I spoke, and someone came up to me and said, "You're a beacon of hope for me, because my nephew is struggling right now, and seeing you've made changes has really given me hope that they can turn it around too." So that was that was an experience I had that was like pouring gas on the fire, because starting the business and all that, I was nervous about, do I share this stuff? Because is that people are gonna not hire me because I'm a recovering addict or have a felony or whatever reason. And that was one of those moments early on that really gave me that boost. And then fast forward, the support I received from the Rotary community at my graduation, the judge that sentenced me to prison, years prior was in tears,
Yeah.
spoke, just the amount of support I had from
Yeah.
really, nobody really knew me all that well. We were early in knowing each other. So I was like, these people really care to come take time out of their day to support me. And then developing relationships and over time, just what Rotary has been for me, it's about service work, it's about community, it's about networking too, meeting
Yeah,
people. But for
absolutely.
me, it's been about personal growth because being able to go from I don't belong here
Right.
to even more recently, I felt targeted because of my hat, which goes back to, you know, my thinking errors, like rationalizing, justifying,
Right.
and I had to take a step back with that. But it's been about personal growth with everybody in there being a part of it, and I'm really grateful for that organization, what they do, just what they've done for me,
Yeah.
being a part of it, and
I love that our experience is similar. Like the story is kind of similar, right? But it's a very different, like, kind of background with it, right? But I think I remember when you spoke the first time, but you were just so vulnerable. And I think people are drawn to that, right? This is what you're doing every day. That's what you're doing with this podcast. That's what you're doing every day when you're working with your clients and just being you. There's not a disingenuous bone in your body. And I think people can tell that. So that's why it was very easy to rally behind you when we didn't even know you that well yet, but just to say, this is an amazing person and they deserve our support.
yeah. Well, part of that is, and I encourage everyone to be your authentic self. Part of that is I feel like when I don't share my truth, who I am, where I've been, that I'm actually doing a disservice to myself
Yeah.
and everyone around me, because this I can't rewind the clock and erase that stuff.
Right.
It's more now I look at it as more of a strength.
Yeah.
My past, as bad as that experience was, is a strength because I can look in the mirror and I'm like, I love that guy in
Right.
the mirror. You know,
Yeah.
I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of how I treat people
Yes.
and just how I live
Yeah.
my life. And it all stems from that. I'm living my truth. I'm being vulnerable, which it just ripples out, allows other people to also be vulnerable.
It does. It is. You create safe spaces for people, which I think is a gift of yours, but it's also something that not a lot of people maybe have exposure to. So I think, when we have vehicles like this, and opportunities and people that we can chat with, I share things with people one-on-one and like just intended to talk about something totally different, right? Like, hey, let's talk about work stuff. And then they start sharing about things. I'm like, oh, well, by the way, and it's incredible what can happen like in those moments, right? Especially when it's one-on-one and it's someone you trust, but hopefully that builds and people can truly live their authentic selves moving forward.
Yeah. And in life in general is about connecting with people.
Yeah.
So,
And like you said, we're all going through stuff, right? We're all carrying those rocks in our backpack. It's always the analogy I hear being used, and it's so true. Some days it's not as heavy, but some days it's really heavy.
It doesn't matter if you're a billionaire.
Doesn't matter.
Like your economic status doesn't matter. Same with addiction. None of that stuff says, well, you got $1 billion, so you're not going to become an opiate addict. It
Right.
doesn't do that. So
Doesn't discriminate whatsoever.
yeah. So talking, I think it just creates resilience in people too when they're authentic. And you're resilient. Anybody who's been through an injury and had to rehab, I think, is at their core, they're building resilience in that process. So you've torn both of your ACLs, right?
Yeah. Not fun. Do not recommend. 0 out of 0.
Let's start at the moment it happened.
Yeah.
There's pain, what you felt, and then kind of the emotions that
Oh God. Yeah.
just, it's like a wave, right?
Yeah. So the first one, I mean, they're about 20 years apart. So that's another like kind of note to why I kind of had to put a slow down on the sports stuff, but it was volleyball. And the first one was, I was on a co-ed league And so it's a men's height net when you're playing co-ed. So it's like 7 inches higher than a women's net. So we were just going through the hitting lines in practice, just warming up, and I went to hit the ball and I landed not correctly. I never really knew what happened, but I felt like I went down, and I just, like, I felt like my knee went like this. Like, that's what I felt. I didn't hear the pop. I didn't hear any of that. I just crumpled to the ground, and I felt a lot of pain, and I started crying and holding my knee, and I didn't know what the heck happened. I had no idea. At the time, my cousin was on the team with me, and she came over and, was trying to comfort me, and they kind of scooted me off to the side because the game still had to go on, right? As much of it does. We see that all the time in professional sports too, and probably our own sports teams around here. Called an ambulance. They came and they tried to give me nitrous to help with the pain. Wasn't touching it. Like, this is not helpful whatsoever. Like, okay, whatever. And I went to ER, and I don't remember if they did an x-ray or not, but that doesn't really matter when it's ligament. So I found out later I had torn it completely. So thus began the kind of road to recovery that was my left knee at that time. So that one took about 9 months, I think, to rehab. So I was, again, like early 20s, bounced back pretty quick, got back right into the sport. The one later, though, my second one, which I did more recently, I guess, I injured it in 2020, and my surgery was 2021. Same exact thing. I went up to the net to kind of defend a ball, landed funny, went down, and I knew what happened. So it's tough. It's not fun.
Yeah. So I'm wearing my favorite NFL players
Hutch.
gear here, Hutch.
Yep.
I seen him on a podcast, and he talked about his, where it was literally, he knew, and if you watch that video, he was taking his gloves off. You can relate. You knew something happened the first time, and then you knew what had happened the second time because you'd experienced it before. One thing he talks about, and I wonder if it's the same sort of aspect for you, is when he broke that, he started thinking about all the things he had planned in his future. He was on a record-setting pace that year.
Yep. The team was on pace, right? Themselves, yeah.
Yeah, and he goes down, and all of it's like you're grieving all of what you were supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. You don't play volleyball anymore, right?
I don't, yeah.
So sure, you went through a process of grieving that. I want to hear about more of the emotional roller coaster that injuries take on people.
Yeah, so it was a lot harder the second time, again, because I was older. It was harder, and plus it was my right leg, which is the leg you drive with, right? Mm-hmm. So I couldn't drive. I remember when I first went to the doctor, like, oh yeah, a couple of weeks you should be back able to drive. No, it was a full 6 weeks before I could drive again. So I mean, Jeremy was an absolute savior. Like, he did everything. He had to cook all the meals. He had to do all the school drop off, school pickup, all the things while I recovered after my surgery. And never mind like the pain of it, right? And having to deal with all that. But not being able to do what you've always been able to do for me, because I'm a busy person. I'm a go person. I'm a giver. I like to take care of people. I had a really hard time being a patient. Mm-hmm. But I did it, right? And, you just kind of have to sit back and absorb that love and let them come to you and be what you need in that time. And that's okay, right? It's hard for me to do. I think it's hard for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Because it's hard to ask for help. It's hard for me to ask for help. But you had to. So I don't know. It was like God's way to be like, you need to slow down a little bit. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I didn't even think at the time, because I fully intended to come back to volleyball. And I remember being in physical therapy after, and I was doing really well. Like, I had a solid week. I was starting to like cut and like plant and kind of push off a little bit. And I was making some good progress. I was getting back to strength and wasn't on crutches anymore. And then the next time I came in, my knee gave out. And just like that, I felt like I took like 1,000 steps backward, and I was distraught. Like, this is so unfair. And that was when I first started talking to them about, and this was even before I worked where I'm at now. They said the tie to your mental health about this recovery is just as important, because you're more up here. Like, you have to know these setbacks are going to happen, and it's a part of the recovery process. Like, it's not just physical, it's definitely mental as well. Like, and this is expected. I needed to hear that because I'm like, I'm failing something. Like, I did something wrong. That's kind of where my mind went. And it's only recently, though, like, because I never really felt super strong after that. Like, I never really got that chance to like plant and not feel that kind of pain again, that I realized, yeah, volleyball and kind of those really high impact sports aren't for me anymore at this point. I really don't want to be out there in a double knee brace and all that stuff anymore. But yeah, that was really tough part of the journey and the emotions and stuff. So I still struggle with it because that was a big outlet for me. I loved volleyball. I love that camaraderie. I still haven't found the right thing for me. Like, yeah, I can walk. Yeah, I don't want to run. Like, that's not fun for me.
Right.
So I'm still trying to find what makes sense for me. But yeah, it's tough.
Pickleball's pretty big right now.
I've
never played pickleball.
I've never played either. I think I'm afraid to. I honestly still have this fear that I'm going to do it again.
Right.
And I know if I do it again, I won't have the surgery. Because you really don't have to. Like, when you get to a certain point and like you don't need to have like this super physically active lifestyle, like, it makes sense for a teenager. But those are things I can do that are lower impact maybe.
Yeah. I've worked with clients that have transitioned from PT and they're getting into, you know, the actual let's build strength back in this muscle and with success.
Yeah.
So,
because you'd probably see him pre-op, right? Because a lot of times you're prescribed pre-op physical therapy, and then of course post-op, and you're in there like the day after surgery.
Yeah. So building up strength in the leg, and then the precautions you have to take in that scenario, and even afterwards, there's certain exercises like I wouldn't have thought put as much pressure, like the leg extension. I had a PT tell me, don't ever put anybody who has had an ACL repair on
the pressure to get to zero
on a leg extension because it's so much internal pressure when you're hinging at the knee. So, you know, I've learned about the rehab, the post PT, you know, gaining mobility back, and these are young athletes. So, where so there's what, cadaver?
I opted for a donor graft for both, a cadaver. So that was kind of I don't want to say neat part about it, but like, you get to write a note because you never get to meet the family, you know, that helped you. But it was, for me, my choice was, I didn't want to have another like thing to heal because they would have taken part of my quad to make that graft. So I opted for a cadaver graft on both ACLs.
Now let's take a moment to thank our sponsors, Pine Haven Assisted Living. At Pine Haven Assisted Living, they believe in making every resident feel at home. Nestled in the peaceful countryside of Hemlock, Michigan, they offer compassionate care in a family-like environment where residents can enjoy independence with the support they need. Registered nurse-owned and operated, their team provides personalized care, home-cooked meals, and a range of activities to ensure your loved ones continue to live a fulfilling life. They also have alpacas and llamas on site to enrich the lives of their residents. Experience the warmth and comfort of Pine Haven. Call them today at 989-295-6632. That's 989-295-6632. Or you can visit them on their website at pinehavenassistedliving.com. That's pinehavenassistedliving.com for more information. Now, back to the Level Up Life. Yeah, it's quite the journey. I know I had a knee injury. Mine came from it wasn't anything cool. I was actually in a drinking era in my life, and it was a post-bar fight, and someone kicked my knee, and it damaged it to the point it was like a basketball in the morning, and I neglected it. But I think it's really important for people in recovery, and you know, a lot of them learned this early on. I did, but it's super important for me because when I had the knee injury, I automatically thought you know, they call them slick up here. Slick's like, don't tell your doctor that you have a painkiller, opiate addiction. So I didn't. And I was off and running again because of this. So it was like a snowball effect. And I still have some issues with it today, but I just want to just make sure to say, like, talk to your doctors and
Yes.
make sure they know, because it's important for them to know those things so you can prevent what happened to me with a relapse. But mine was damage to the meniscus and the bottom of the femur.
Yep.
And the doctor told me, you're going to be lucky if you can walk to the mailbox by the time you're 50. Because the damage to the actual, it's the lateral femoral condyle. So if you're thinking, you know, your femur, it's the exterior lateral condyle, which is that little nub thing on the side of the femur. I have a pothole there. So basically, me being who I am, I'm like, oh no, I'm going to be able to run when I'm 50. So I've talked to PTs. They're like, make sure you maintain strength around the knee joint, while also I play fast pitch softball, I wear a knee brace. Just, it gives me comfort, peace of mind. As you said, you played in one on your. So I wear a knee brace, and I'm also really conscious of when I'm planting, not twisting for that reason. So injuries are just so hard mentally. Not even talking the physical pain that you go through, but just mourning a season, an athletic career. You know, so grieving that process, I think the hardest part is more the emotional side of it.
I mean, and the camaraderie and that team aspect, like, that's so important for a lot of people. And I miss that a lot. And, you know, my volleyball girls are the ones that got me flowers, you know, my day out of surgery and stuff like that. And we still are in contact, but it's not the same, right? It's never going to be exactly as it was, because what you have on the court or the field is just, you know, it's pretty special for that. So it's tough. I'll figure something out, but I don't know that's probably why I pour my heart into stuff like Rotary, because I have that network, right? I have that kind of team I can build around me, stuff like that. But
I naturally have a competitive spirit. And it could be, you know, Waz and I talking on a specific lift. We're both supportive of each other, but we're also
competition.
We're also talking a little trash and just friendly banter. So when I got into recovery, fast pitch was that for me. And this is all post knee surgery. And I've been going through this process, and I talked about it in a previous episode about how I just turned 40. My athletic abilities are on the decline, and I've been in denial about it. And now I'm just kind of coming to grips with it, but I'm grieving my ability to compete at a higher level, and also still trying to hold on to what I have left. So I still play fast pitch, and the banter I have with the guys. And I always, for everybody, I think everybody should have that time in their day or activity in their day. Maybe it's not year round. For me, it's not. It's 2 months out of the year, but something I look forward to where I lose time. It's a lot of my day, whether it's appointments with clients, I call it a prisoner of time. I'm so structured in my day because I have to be. And when I go out on that ball field, my watch comes off, my phone's in my bag. I'm not, the only sense of time that I really have is when the sun goes down. But I'm not thinking about work. I'm not thinking about anything but that moment, playing some ball. And I feel like that's an important release. So, I mean, golf maybe for you?
Maybe. I'm terrible at it, but hey. There's one time a year I go out and I golf, and thankfully I have some very understanding scramble partners who let me go lose a box of balls. And
I have a terrible slice.
That's the thing, is I'm so competitive that, like, I want to do well, but I do nothing to help myself be better at golf. So, you know, I shouldn't complain, but
you gotta invest in yourself if you're gonna take that route.
It's true.
So you're and from where I sit, I look at you, I respect you a lot, Dallas. You've achieved a ton. You have a ton of respect in the community. You do great things in the community. Well, what's been one of your contributing factors? I know we discussed a little bit
Yeah.
organization, right? Tell me
Yeah.
how organized you are and what can I do to become more organized? Because I'm not
Good at
organized.
Dallasism. Oh gosh. So yeah, organization for me is key. Like if I'm not, so I'm a pretty anxious person. Like I'm not diagnosed with anxiety, but I would say I have like self-diagnosing. I shouldn't do that, but like I definitely have anxiety. What helps me feel better is having lists. So I know what to expect. I know what I need to get done. I know what's coming up even. So like my calendar kind of drives some of my stuff. I'll even put like notes on my calendar about things I want to do. So I can kind of check them off. Like I get a lot of satisfaction crossing stuff off of a list. But writing stuff down for me, like the day before, like when I start my day, like this morning, I grabbed my coffee, went to my desk. First thing I did is I got a little piece of paper, started writing down what I wanted to get done, what I wanted to do today. And of course, things go off track, but it's like these are kind of my high priority items. Like I know I need to do ABC. That's what's always helped me. And I have like a personal list, like I have things like for the house, family kind of things I needed to do. And then like if the day allows it, I can kind of plug some of those in. You know what I mean? So that's what helps me a lot. So lists, organization, writing that stuff down.
My wife uses a list. Part of my problem, I guess, is I make a list and then I don't look at the list, and I just because maybe it's self-diagnosed ADHD or whatever. I don't, not self-diagnosing, but I get distracted pretty easily. Where if I have my best success comes from when something comes into my view, a task,
Yep.
something that needs to be addressed, rescheduling a client. If I don't do it right then, I
Right.
forget. It just it leaves. So I need to be more efficient with my lists.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. Like I'll walk into the kitchen and have intentions to do one of those tasks, and I'll forget why I walked in there. But I'll see 3 other things to do, and I'll do those, and I'll never even do what I intended to do. Like I totally do that too. But
Without a list,
the
though,
list helps keep me on track. Like, oh, that's why I went in there.
yeah,
So it
the
keeps
list
me
brings it back.
a little more mindful.
So you do that at work too, I'm sure.
Yeah.
To increase productivity.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's my part of my problem is I get an idea, like we were talking before the show started.
Yep.
I can't have just that paper notebook, because if I don't have it right with me, it's not getting written down. So I know there's the options of, if I could have my phone if I could tell it and it would just automatically put it in a list, that would be even easier. I know it sounds super lazy, but sometimes
Talk to text is your friend.
my days are so compacted with tasks and stuff that I'm doing that I'm budgeting seconds. Like I have 45 seconds till my next client. I can get out 2 texts in this time to reply to these 2 people.
Right.
So it's all about any way I can improve on my organizational skills. And like Logan Ricchetti's told me, he said, let go of the vine a little bit, which part of that is delegating and
asking for help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which when I've built this business and I've gotten to a point, it's hard to, I don't know if you can relate, like, even if it's some things I do that it's just like, I want it done this specific way. And I don't give people the opportunity to build trust. Even, Waz is a phenomenal trainer.
Yeah.
And it took me a minute to like let go of that vine a little bit, but I'm glad I did, because it's freed me up for some creative stuff. And, if he wouldn't have came onto the team, I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't have time to do this. So he's made that possible. And then, so asking for help, I'm going to get better at that too.
Let's do that together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, talking organization and just mindset throughout life, for me, I reference Judge Beal's quote all the time, but it's just because it's so meaningful to me that just do the next right thing. I was introduced to the 4-way test. I believe it was November of 2017 when I spoke.
Okay.
And it's the same concept, but a little bit deeper. And tell me about what that means for you.
Oh, the Rotary 4-way test is, so do you want to say it? Do you know
Yeah.
it? So of the things we think, say, or do, is it the
The
truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Nailed it. Nice. If you kind of go through life, whether it's work, personal, friendships, relationships, anything, and you kind of live by that as like you're talking about decision making, how you react, how you approach someone,
Business decisions.
it gives you such a good lens to kind of just always live, think, and do, right? And how you just react to life. So I know it's made me just a completely better person because of it. Not that I'm perfect in any way, because I'm certainly not, but like it's made me want to be better too. Because you also know, like, people know you're a Rotarian. We should hold ourselves to a higher standard, and the 4-way test is kind of that Northern Star for us.
Yeah. It's the same, has the same effect for me as terms business, family, relationships with clients. Like,
Yeah.
it is that, I think of it as a compass. Live, say, do.
Yep.
So, and I think just the core to it makes people better. I haven't met a Rotarian that isn't a kind individual. Going back to my own internal, I used to think, and like I said, it was internal. When I'd go in there, I'd think I was out of place, and I'd think people look down on me because of my past, and not once has anybody ever said that to me. But it's just looking internally at myself and how I've moved through life since gotten into recovery. My first episode, I talk about it. I am a felon. I am a recovering addict. I am all these things, but that's not.
They don't define you.
Yeah, they don't define me, and that's not where I'm going. So I really appreciate the level of growth that I've had from Rotary just in that context. And it's been nobody doing anything, just me being present in a different community than what my life was surrounded with before. So I really appreciate that community and just.
Yeah. If you're having a bad day and you go to a Rotary meeting, and like sometimes I'm like, oh, like I don't know if I can make it. And then I go, I feel so much better when I walk out of that room. And, the work of Rotary, they always say, isn't done in those meetings. But I mean, just to feel uplifted and you're with your people.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you know that that's your people.
Yeah. So in little background, I joined in, what was it, 2017, December.
Soon after you spoke, right? Because everyone was like, you got to join.
Yeah. And Matt Smith actually brought me in, sponsored me, and then I kind of drifted away from it. I got really busy building my business, and then I had drifted away. I basically stopped coming for what was 2-3 years almost, and maybe longer. I don't know the exact time I wasn't attending, but you're the one that brought me back, convinced me, come back, Adam. And I'm really glad I did.
I'm glad you did too.
Because it's the connections. I had to go through all the steps a second time.
All the orientation stuff.
The connections with people, guests that I've had on here already. Jimmy's a Rotarian.
Yeah.
So a lot of wonderful people that I have as a resource now to be part of my personal safety net when it comes to my recovery.
Yeah.
So they don't even have to do anything.
Yeah.
If you've seen me at a bar drinking a beer, it might be kind of weird. You might be like, Adam, what's going on? But even the thought of you might do this is part of that. So
Yeah, you've got a room of people that are rooting for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a big thing. When I was leading the group in 2021, it was nerve-wracking, right? I've never really been in front of a crowd like that and having to like run the meeting and all that stuff. And I tell this to other presidents as they're coming into their term or helping out at a meeting. I'm like, nobody in that room wants you to fail. And that got me through a lot. And I think that can get you through a lot of different rooms, right? Or different situations. Like, nobody really wants you to fail.
Right.
And if you kind of have that mindset, like everyone actually is cheering for you, they're doing it silently, maybe from their chair, but nobody wants you to fail.
Right.
So, and Rotary, I think, did that for both of us in some different ways, but that's super cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on today, Dallas. I really appreciate the conversation. Everybody, don't forget to tune in, click like, share, follow, and don't forget episodes are Sunday at 1 p.m. Thanks for tuning in. Grateful for you.